It's Saturday night,
The kids are in bed,
which means we did it. We survived another week.
so let's talk about it.
From our latest homebrew project,
To kids' crafting projects.
it's just talking life with two young kids and two dogs. Grab your favorite beverage, sit back,
Relax.
and see where the conversation takes us.
Sometimes we don't even know until we get there. This is the Craft Parenting Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of the Craft Parenting Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Another week has flown by and it is once again Saturday and time to record another episode. My name is Joe Ludwig and with me is my lovely wife and co-host, Caroline. How's it going, Caroline?
I am warm.
It is very warm in here.
Warm and moist.
There's that word again. Just for Stephen and Hillary.
Just for Stephen and Hillary. The kids are fine, though. The fans in the house work.
You might be able to hear the fan in the background.
I don't care. I'm not turning the fan off this week. You can't make me do it.
But you'll have to wait and see as to why we are warm. It might be because we are on the beach, or it might be because our AC went out. Who knows?
Please be the beach. Please be the beach. Please be the beach.
We'll get into that. We have another great episode planned out for you, and it's going to be a surprise. Lots of things went sideways.
So much sideways.
Not as planned, I guess is a better way to put it.
Yeah. Plans were destroyed.
Thrown out the window.
Possibly quite literally. I don't think I've thrown anything out a window this week, though, so maybe not.
Is that like a life goal? Should that be a life goal? Don't throw things out windows?
I guess so. Maybe. I don't know. Let's get this shtick done so we can go to anniversary dinner and get out of this house.
It is very warm.
So let's get into what we did this week.
What did we do this week?
You don't remember. I barely remember, too. The heat is frying our brains. So on Sunday...
It might be frying my computer, too. Hopefully not.
So... On Sunday, Elliot used his jumper more. I readjusted it so it's actually the right height for him and his current weight, and he loves it. He likes to hang out in it. He hops side to side, just kind of watches people. He's kind of figuring out how to spin around. It did take Lily a little bit to master that skill set. So looking forward to more time in the jumper so he can exercise and wear himself out to take really good naps. Lily has become no nap. Well, she hasn't become no nap Lily. She was no nap Lily on Sunday. We tried so hard to get her to take a nap, and she wouldn't do it.
Little booger.
She was a little booger. So we decided, well, we're doing research, quote unquote, for a local soft serve ice cream joint episode. Why don't we go to a local soft serve joint to get some ice cream? So we plan on going to one location, and Lily falls asleep right before we get there. So we're like, okay, we'll drive around.
Stall
out.
Maybe she'll take a nap for 30 minutes.
Yeah, get her at least some kind of a nap because it's about 5:30ish at this point. I don't know. It's later in the day. Get some kind of nap in her so she'll be semi-well rested. Well, she'll be semi-rested. So we drove around in a giant circle to get back to the ice cream joint. Tried to find a place to park and couldn't because their parking lot is small and everybody and their brother was there. So we went to a different local ice cream shop instead, which gave Lily a little bit more nap time. And that was really yummy. I had ice cream melting down my hand, but it was good. Find out more in our upcoming episode about local soft serve joints.
I want to point out that you did the same tease for a local donut shop episode, and we still haven't done that.
It's in progress. We're still doing research, I think.
So it is coming soon, I guess.
Eventually. It's like the Amanda Show, which is a very dated reference at this point.
That is a very dated reference. So on Monday, your mom came over, as she does on Mondays.
Well, but this was different because I had a doctor's appointment. So she came out to hang out with the kids while I was at the doctor's office. But in addition, she wasn't allowed to go back to her house.
Because her house was officially on the market, and then it got off the market because she has an offer.
Yeah, so it was insanity. Sunday night, Mom texted me, I'll be over in time for you to go to your doctor's appointment. Right now, we have a showing scheduled at 11 and another showing scheduled at 4:30, and that's it. And I was like, okay, Mom, if you think those are the only two showings that are going to happen, I'm pretty sure you're wrong. So Monday morning, she shows up and she says, well, I did all this work and the 11 o'clock showing canceled. I was like, well, that's okay. It happens. They probably got an offer accepted, so they didn't want to look at your house. The day is then filled up with, hey, there's a showing at 2. There's a showing at 3. There's a showing at 5. There's a showing at 5:30. And so we're like all through the day, I was, hey, Mom, if you guys need to have dinner over here, you can, because I'm pretty sure you're not going to be able to make dinner at your house. No, we'll be fine. The last showing ends at like 6. We'll make dinner or we'll go out to eat or something. Like, okay, offer still stands. So about 4:30 rolls around and I'm starting to plan out what we're doing for dinner. And I mean, we were probably going to make the same quantity of food no matter what, but picking between meal A or meal B as to which one will serve more people. And I was like, are you guys sure you don't want to come over for dinner? And Mom's like, well, yeah, we now have showings at the house until like 7:30. So we'll come over for dinner. And I was like, sweet. Okay. Y'all can hang out here as long as you need to and then just go home and chill. We had a nice dinner. They hung out with the kids.
They were about to leave.
And then Mom gets a text message at like 7:45. Hey, somebody wants to see the house at 8:30. And I'm like, well, you guys are here anyway.
It's really short notice. Is that what happens when you sell your house?
I guess so. I don't know.
I guess you can put constraints on it. No showings after 7:30.
But then you're also putting constraints on who can actually look at your house.
Small kids, though.
Oh, but if you have small kids, when can you get out of the house between work and taking care of your kids?
I don't know.
Exactly.
I've never had to sell my house.
One day we will, and it'll be insane. So they ended up staying at our house until almost 9 because they were going to leave at 8:30 and drive slow. And I was like, no, just hang out here another 10 minutes or so. Give them some time. And so she was looking forward to getting feedback in the morning. They weren't sure they were going to get any offers. We would be very surprised if they didn't have any offers when they woke up Tuesday morning. And lo and behold, somebody put an offer in 10 p.m. that night. And it was over asking price, no inspection, no home warranty, buyer pays closing costs. So they accepted that offer, and then like 10 minutes later, they got another offer for slightly more money over asking, but they wanted an inspection, which would be where...
Your mom took the first offer. They signed the paperwork.
Yeah, she had already taken the first offer.
And then they got the second offer. That's the way I understand it.
I think that's right. So basically, the housing market right now is insane, but I'm sure everyone else knows that. And they're under contract now.
Yeah, as long as it goes through.
Yeah, as long as it goes through, we get house guests in about a month for an extended period of time to be determined at a later date.
Yeah, they say that they're building a house, right?
Yes, they're building a house.
They say it's going to break ground in September. I was told early September.
I was told mid-September.
Okay, so I don't know what that means, but I was also told 90 days.
Yeah, it takes them about 90 days
to build the house.
Total.
I relayed that information to my boss casually, and she laughed at me.
So...
Like they're not going to build that in 90 days.
So there's probably a big difference between the house your boss is thinking of and the house that Mom is buying. So they're downsizing to a ranch with the basement. So it's not a 2-story. So they don't have to do all of the structural work. They don't have to do as much structural work on the basement and the first floor because there isn't any additional floors above that for them to support. And this is a brand new neighborhood build. Mm-hmm. So it's not like they're going out to an individual job site every day. It's when they pour one foundation, they'll probably pour 3 or 4 foundations in the same day, and they'll just constantly work.
I think you're also forgetting about the bureaucracy that a corporation might have.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the shortages.
Yeah, right now the shortages are causing issues because our neighbors across the street, I think, are supposed to be moved into their new house by now, but the neighborhood they're moving into, they delayed construction because they weren't able to get materials.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah. Oh, I heard that from our friends that I hung out with on Thursday. Because I guess they talked to our friends that already live in that neighborhood. Yeah. So that brought us to Tuesday, where Lily's coloring more. She seems to enjoy it. She likes to fill up the whole page with color now because she has her own little set of crayons. And she's able to get around her playset almost all by herself. She still can't swing on her own.
The playset outside.
Yeah, the playset outside.
In the backyard.
But she can get up the ladder. She can go down the slide all by herself. She hasn't figured out the rock wall yet, but we also haven't really tried to teach her the rock wall.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that, but it came with the playset.
So the hope is that if she gets using the big kid swings soon, Elliot can start using the baby swing. But we'll see. I'm trying to teach, I haven't been trying very hard, but I'm trying to teach her how to swing on her belly so she can just like run.
Yeah. I mean, she has to be a kid too. I mean, just because she has a younger brother. We do have 2 baby swings that we can put back there.
We do. But belly swinging is fun.
Is it dangerous though?
No. I did it all the time.
Look at you. You're fine.
And so on Tuesday, after I got home from work, we made an attempt for Lily and myself to go to the pool again. This time, Elliot let us go. He didn't scream the whole time.
He was in a better mood, I think.
The house was cooler then. So yeah, he was a lot happier.
Was it not cool the other time you went to the pool?
It's not cool right now.
No, it's not cool right now, but the temperature was peachy keen when you went to the pool the other day.
Yeah.
And he screamed.
So Lily made some new friends at the pool, a set of twins that are about 3 months older than her. I guess they're about 2 months older than her.
I didn't know they were older.
Yeah. And one of them committed the foulest of party fouls and pooped in the pool.
We aren't pointing fingers.
They're kids. It happens. They're little. They still don't have the ability to communicate with us about what their bathroom needs are. And nothing solid came out of the diaper, but at least as far as we could tell. But apparently there was a breach of the diaper. I don't know. It was probably time for Lily and myself to come home anyway. So Lily came home and got a bath. We're like, bath time! It was bath night anyway. So on Wednesday, I don't even remember what we did. I went to work. I picked up the kids after work.
Oh, the kids went to my mom's, right?
Yes. They did go to your mom's on Wednesday.
I feel like we went early.
I tried to.
No, the kids woke up.
Oh, yes, the kids woke up.
Or one of the kids woke up.
Elliot woke up super early on Wednesday. That's right. He had been up since 5:30.
I don't know why.
I don't know why either. It was the closest that I got to showing up to work at 8 a.m. though. It was only like 5 minutes late instead of 15
I think
plus.
we all left at like 7:30.
Yeah.
Which is really early.
For us.
Yeah.
These days. It's harder with 2 kids.
I don't think we did anything special that night.
No, not that I can think of. On Thursday, I was brave, and I took Elliot and Lily to White Oak Coffee House by myself. So as Elliot in a stroller and Lily sitting in a chair, we hung out at White Oak Coffee House. And Lily ate a whole slice of zucchini bread all by herself and only dropped 2 bites on the ground.
Wow.
I was very proud of her. Sometimes she used a fork. Sometimes she used her hands. But I want to say it was like 50-50 ratio. So she's definitely using silverware more. She wants to be like us.
She does like to mimic.
Yep. So went to White Oak Coffee House for 2 reasons. 1, because Mama needed coffee. And 2, so we could stall until our friends were ready for us to hang out with them. Because Lily finally got to hang out with her friend Maggie again. It was adorable. She walked in the door and she was excited. And then they gave each other a hug. And Lily does not willingly hug without prompting that much. So if she like willingly gives you a hug without you being like, may I have a hug? She really likes you.
So she saw Maggie, ran up to her and hugged her.
Yeah. And they hung out inside for a while and they hung out outside for a while because our friend has 2 different play sets.
A really nice back porch too, right?
Yeah, they recently redid. Well, they added on, they like tripled their back patio and put a cover over it. So they have this nice little outdoor space.
Not quite a sunroom, but it's still really nice.
Yeah, and they've got a TV set up out there so they can watch TV. So her husband put on the proper football game. I do not remember who was playing, but...
AKA soccer.
Yes, soccer.
He's a huge soccer person.
Lily was such a big kid. She got up the play sets all by herself. She ran around. She ate snacks at the big kid tables. They ate lunch at a little picnic table and she liked that. She pretty much left Elliot alone, which was good. He got to be a little kid too. And he got to hang out with their son who's a month younger than him. And Elliot is huge compared to little Philip. But that's because Elliot is a giant.
I bet he's off the charts.
We'll find out on Monday. He probably is.
He's a big baby. He's in size 3 diapers.
Yep, he's in size 3 diapers and in size 6 to 9 month onesies.
Really? It should be like 9 month, like solid 9 month, right?
Well, it's like he's in solid 9 month onesies. It's ridiculous.
We could probably move him up to 1 year, right? 12 month.
When he was wearing that Team Fiona t-shirt, that was a 2T. And like it was big on him, but he wasn't super swimming in it. And that was last weekend. So
Yeah, we'll see what his weight is. I bet he's 20 pounds.
he's probably closer to like 17 or 18. He's not 20. That's too big. He's a big kid though.
Lily is, what would you say Lily is, like 33?
She's almost 30 pounds.
She's almost 30? I thought she broke 30.
Mm-mm.
Well, when was the last time she went to the doctor?
It's been a while. It was her 18-month checkup.
Yeah, so when she goes in September, I bet she'll be like 33 or 32.
She was 27-ish pounds.
Because she's a
3
big
months
kid
ago.
too, but the standards are different for girls versus boys.
Yeah, I still don't think she's quite 30 pounds yet, but she's a big kid. So got the kids home before nap time. I didn't get a whole lot done around the house because I wasn't really at the house during the day. Eventually we'll catch up on that, but not this weekend. Lily napped for, was it like 3.5 hours? We talked about going to the pool after you got off work, and then Lily slept too long, so we couldn't go to the pool.
She's been taking later naps more often.
Yeah, but she'll still take like a 3 or 3.5 hour nap.
Like she'll go down at 2:30 and then she'll still be asleep by
At like 5.
5:45.
Yeah.
Wake up.
We haven't really tried to wake her up, but she'll still go to bed by 9.
Oh yeah.
So it's not like she's staying up all night either.
And she still wakes up at 7.
Or 8. If you let her wake up on her own, she wakes up closer to 8 or 8:30.
Yeah, sometimes.
Our kids like their sleep.
And everyone, I can hear everyone cursing us. Curse you! Craft Parenting Podcast in your kids who sleep.
So this brings us to Friday. Lily can take selfies now.
She can?
Yeah, Mom sent me a selfie that Lily took. It was kind of crummy, but Lily took a selfie. Because I asked Mom whether or not Lily had taken the picture, and she said that she did. And I was like, whoa. She also said that Lily will like take her phone and then sit on it. She's like, I don't get why she does that. And I was like, oh, that's because if Lily tries to get my phone, I throw it in one of my pockets or I sit on it so she can't take it.
So she takes your mom's phone and mimics you?
And yeah, and she sits on it.
That's funny.
She also has her hidey hole little box that sits by her washing machine near the kitchen. So if she takes something and you're like, hey, Lily, can I have that back? She runs over to her box, puts it in the box, and then comes back to you like, can you have what? And if you're like, where is this thing that you took? Like she'll walk over to the box, look in the box to make sure it's still there, and then come back to you. Like, I don't know. It's somewhere. Good luck.
She is funny. She's a funny kid.
Yeah. So we had a giant thunderstorm come through the middle of the day. Like I was in the production building at work, which is a tin roof, and it was super loud. And we looked out the windows and it looked like it was night outside. It was crazy. Did you even notice that it rained?
I don't think it rained here. No, it did rain here. Because I took the dogs out at noon around lunchtime.
Yeah.
Was that Friday or?
That was Friday.
Are we talking about Friday?
Yes.
Then yes, it was on Friday when it rained midday.
Mom was here with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I got home from work and we were like, it's a little warm in the house, but it's okay. It's been really, really hot today. It was the hottest day of the year on Friday thus far. And so we went out to dinner at Wild Mike's, which is a very yummy local wing spot. And we got home and the house was still ridiculously hot. And I was like, okay, time to troubleshoot. Oh, hey, the AC unit outside isn't kicking on. So I turn everything off, like including the breaker, flip it back on. The AC unit wants to kick on, but sounds terrible, smells terrible, and looks terrible. And I'm like, no. Frantically turn off AC via my Nest app. We're just not going to do this. I turn off the central air system. So the AC is not going to kick on. Technically the heat is on. So I can just tell the fan to run to blow air through the house. And we're making the decision of whether or not we're going to stay here for the night, because we had attempted to put Lily to bed and I had attempted to put Elliot to bed and neither of them were sleeping. And then we looked at the thermostat and we're like, oh, it's like 80 or 81 degrees in here. And
on the bottom floor, right?
On the bottom floor, yes. I don't even know what it is upstairs. And
usually it's, if the bottom floor is set to 72, usually it's 3 or 4 degrees warmer.
Actually, I think Lily's little monitor said it was 82 in her room. It was warm, but also it gonna rain. Like all through the day, we had been getting updates that there's gonna be a really bad storm that's gonna roll through. Today, there's gonna be at least 4 waves.
Yeah, multi-phased storm. Wave 1, wave 2, wave 3.
It was insane.
It's produced tornadoes.
So then things happened. We'll get to those later. And then on Saturday, we woke up at your parents' house and ordered breakfast after everyone woke up. We had a yummy Bob Evans breakfast. Nothing eventful happened between those two things. It was just we woke up and suddenly we were at your parents' house and we ordered breakfast. We get settled in. I finally am able to get a hold of the AC guy, and it started raining again. So he was like, hey, you're not at your house. It's raining outside. Let's just wait till the rain stops. So we chill for a bit. Then we head home because the rain has stopped. He replaces the capacitor because the capacitor went bad. We power the unit back up, and we discover why the compressor went bad, because the motor is fried. And our options include repairing this unit that we're pretty sure we know how old it is, but we don't exactly know how old it is, or buying a new unit.
Yay.
So we're moving in with Mom until a new AC unit can be installed on Monday. So before Mom moves into our house, we're moving into her house.
Yeah, and I mean, it's fine in here. If it was just you and me.
If it was just us, it'd be fine. We'd throw ice cubes in the dog's water bowls every once in a while. Maybe would plan on sleeping in the basement. Throw open all the windows at night if it wasn't going to rain.
Elliot, though, he doesn't like getting super warm. He's a big baby, and he has rolls on rolls.
His rolls have rolls.
Yeah, I can imagine that sweating would not feel good.
Yeah.
Even if we do have the fans on. I mean, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ceiling fans between all the rooms.
And we have 2 fans. We could possibly get more fans that we could just like plug and play wherever, but it's still 78 in our house. That's after it dropped some overnight. I don't know what it's going to be come bedtime, but I also don't want to find out. So we're going to go spend the night at Mom's house. So that's our week thus far. Plans include packing up stuff so we're good for 2 nights stay somewhere that's not our house, and then going out to dinner for our anniversary / Father's Day, but mostly our anniversary.
So now it is time for What's Bugging Caroline in Children's TV. Caroline, what is bugging you in children's TV?
Surprise, surprise. It's something from Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. Who would have guessed?
I mean, that's the only kids show we watch.
It's that and children's movies. We watch Sesame Street. That's a kids show. So, in this episode of Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, they're having a road rally where they're driving through Clubhouse land. I don't even know what like this world is that they exist in is called. They're driving around to find these Mickey markers. Yay! So you push it for a special surprise. Special surprise. It's big, it's colorful, and it flies. It's a balloon with someone's face on it. And I think there might be confetti too. No, I think it's just the balloon.
Okay, backtrack. What bugs me in children's TV is when they have Mickey Mouse Clubhouse 2-part episodes.
Yes, this was a 2-part episode. Though reading the wiki to remind myself why I hated this episode so much, it aired as a 1-part episode. Like
I'm sure it did, but why not? I mean, it's Disney Plus, so I'm sure
whatever floats their boat.
I'm sure it's different. Just like from a back-end production value, it's probably billed as 2 episodes. So if you're an actor or if you are on the production team, it's episode whatever, 412 and 413.
Yeah, just because it's twice as long as the normal episode.
As an example.
So everybody is driving different vehicles for this road rally because everyone needs to have something with wheels to participate. And Donald is driving the Clubhouse choo-choo train. Now, up until this point, anytime the Clubhouse choo-choo train has been used, it has to lay its own track out of its mouth like it's vomiting pieces of train track. I don't understand. It's weird. The train tracks come out of its mouth narrower than the train and land wider than the train. They magically grow too.
That just might be the camera in the animation.
It comes out of the mouth of the train that is thinner.
This sounds like an innovative thing. Like, this is science. Are you denouncing science?
It's like Doctor Who, where it's bigger on the inside. But we don't have the technology to do that yet.
Well,
so anyways,
Mickey Mouse does.
They also have their own rocket ship. Like they have their own space program. Whatever. Donald is using the train, but even though 2 other episodes at this point, at least, it might have even been 3, the motion of the choo-choo train has been like very consistent about needing to lay track and use track to get places. When Donald is using the clubhouse choo-choo train, there is no track. Why? Stay consistent. I'm not asking you to make it where it's some more realistic way, like, oh, hey, the train track already exists and that's what the clubhouse choo-choo train uses. I'm saying stay consistent with your rules so my daughter doesn't get confused. And I don't throw something at the screen out of frustration because Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, no logic.
I don't think Lily cares.
I don't think she does either, but I have to sit and watch this with her. So she'll get to hear me complain about this in the future.
I wonder if they will listen to this in the future.
I mean, I plan on just telling people if they're having issues putting our kids to bed, just like pop on an episode of the Craft Parenting Podcast and our kids can just listen to us for like an hour.
Bump up the numbers.
And they'll be asleep by the end of it. I don't know. It might work.
But mostly to bump up the numbers.
Yeah. Our numbers are fantastic. Disney World, you should sponsor us. Yes. All of the sponsoring by Disney or other companies. Husband, I noticed that we have an adult beverage sitting in front of us. What is the adult beverage that we're enjoying today?
Well, my adult beverage is empty. So hopefully this stuff is good. So I am drinking Westside Brewing Missing Link, Linck. It is 5.6 ABV. I was wondering about that, what the ABV was. 18 IBU. And I'm going to read the description and then we can go off on a tangent about this.
I didn't put it in here. It is called a Cincinnati Historical Ale is the style that they called it. But description, go.
At Westside they call it that. Our friends at Urban Artifact, which is a local brewery, discovered a heritage yeast strain in the cellars of the abandoned F&JA Link Brewing underneath Cincinnati and brought it back to life. This beer uses a mix of pale malts and is lightly hopped, which allows this unique yeast to shine. Fruity aromas and notes of pepper, clove, and spice, along with a slight funk, all comes from the yeast. Cheers. So this beer, it's a part of Cincinnati's beer heritage, which goes back to pre-Prohibition, late 1800s, where Cincinnati was making so much beer that...
So here's the thing. So whenever you think of big beer cities pre-Prohibition, it's Milwaukee, it's St. Louis, and Cincinnati is always included in as a footnote. Like, yeah, and Cincinnati. Because Milwaukee and St. Louis were making all of this beer and they were exporting it all throughout the country.
And the world.
Cincinnati was also making a ton of beer.
The same amount, really.
But Cincinnatians were drinking it. So since we weren't sending out as much beer, it was
no one knew about it.
Yeah, because we were drinking it all, because that's what you do when you're from Cincinnati.
So Cincinnati was a huge beer city, and then the government enacted the Prohibition Amendment.
Yeah.
Well, the people did, I guess, because they all voted for it, which is a horrible idea.
So they closed up all of these old logging tunnels. Half of them got forgotten.
Just completely destroyed an industry.
It did.
Completely destroyed people's livelihoods.
So one of the places that got covered up and didn't get rediscovered until recently was the location of the F&JA Link Brewery. We're going to link to the Cincy Brewcast episode where they talk about this because Brett and there's another guy. I want to say his name's Mike. I feel really bad because I forget what his name is. But Brett really goes into the history of how they found this yeast. The podcast is not safe for tiny ears.
Nope.
So unless if you want your children to learn some colorful language, or if they already know colorful language, don't listen to it in front of them. But basically, these people purchased this building. I want to say they were going to put in a brewery there. And when they were doing some excavating, they found this logging tunnel underneath. And they were like, oh, we had hoped we would find something like this, but we didn't think that we would. So then they went on a mini expedition and they go down there and they find out there's still fermenting equipment down there.
Yeah.
There's still and it's wooden, which means that it can grow things and hold things. So they get a little camera crew together and they go on a super expedition and they swab it all over the place to try to see what kind of yeasts they can grow. And they grew a yeast that they called Missing Link, Linck, because that's how it's spelled in the name of the old brewery. And they called it Missing Link. It's a purely Cincinnati yeast that if any Cincinnati brewer calls up White Labs and says, hey, I want this yeast, they can get it because they gave the yeast to the city of Cincinnati. So anyone that brews in the greater Cincinnati area can potentially use it. Now, if we wanted to homebrew with it, we'd probably have to pay boatloads of money to get a bunch of yeast versus just being able to get a small little packet of it like we do for the kits that we use.
Well, here's the thing with this yeast, and this might get a little technical, but Urban Artifacts specializes in fruit tarts, Midwest fruit tarts, which...
They invented Midwest fruit tarts.
So they invented this thing, and they also specialize in a thing called wild yeast.
Yeah, so
sour beer.
They go out in nature and they try to find new yeasts to brew beer with. And the yeast that they found, they know is a brewer's yeast, but it acts differently than most brewer's yeasts do. I'm not going to get into the technical stuff because that's what they did.
If you or I want to homebrew a Hefeweizen, there's a special yeast called Hefeweizen yeast.
Yes, that likes that malt.
A wheat yeast. If we want to brew a lager, there's a special yeast for that too. And everyone knows what these yeast cells do. Yeah, they know what the flavor profile does. They know. I mean, these things have been brewed a million times over. There's a Pilsner yeast.
But this is a very new ancient yeast strain. And the thing is, they don't even know if this yeast strain is from the F&JA Link brewery. It's possible that during Prohibition, some bootlegger went down there and started brewing. It could just be from something else. They don't know, but they found this yeast that's unique to Cincinnati. So now they're doing a Missing Link festival is their goal, because it's the same guy that started Bachfest wants to start up this festival with the Cincinnati-based yeast. They started talking about it in 2019. It was going to be very big in 2020, and then things happened. So 2021, they did a mini festival where all of these different breweries made their own beer with the same yeast.
And they're all different. And because they are all different, it's because of this wild yeast.
Well, so each brewery took that yeast and made it their own with their own beer profile. So each of these beers is unique to this brewery. So Westside is very into historical beers and traditional beers. So they tried to make something more of a traditional Pilsner style.
I think they called it a whip beer. Like a whip beer. I think that's what they said.
I feel like it was too, because it's got notes of clove and spice.
Not a Bavarian, like a Belgian.
Yeah, but they didn't want to call it that.
Well, I mean, it's new. It's, like I said, a Belgian whip beer, W-I-T, a white ale, or whatever you want to call it. That yeast has a special flavor. That yeast
helps give the beer its flavor profile.
Right, and that's been used a million times over history. This, we don't know what it is. This whole thing was an experiment. That's how they made it seem like. And they brewed it, and they didn't know how it was going to taste. Yeah. It doesn't follow the rules. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, because the sugars in the malts that brewer's yeast typically eats and turns into alcohol, this yeast ignores. And the parts of the malt that brewer's yeast typically ignores, this stuff eats up. So it's almost the reverse of typical brewer's yeast. I'll be interested to see what Westside does next year, because Colin had talked about on the Cincy Brewcast podcast that this is the first batch that he did, and it was a full-blown batch. If he was thinking straight, he would have done it on a 2-barrel system first and then tweaked in his recipe to do a big batch. So I'll be curious to see what next year's is like.
It does remind me of a whip beer. So like something that you would buy, that I would buy, I guess, in January. Like, I think Sam Adams has something like...
They have a white ale.
That's what it is. It's a white ale.
Cold Snap is a white ale.
Cold Snap. That's what it is. Cold Snap. That's what it reminds me of Cold Snap. So it's spiced. It has some interesting flavors to it, along with the slight funk. I don't know what that means.
It means it's a little, it acts kind of like a Brett yeast, but not really like a Brett yeast.
Brett.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It's a type of yeast, I think. I'm pretty sure so. You're making me question myself because it's so warm in here. I can't think straight.
Well, if you see it, you won't see this in a Kroger, but if you go to a brewery and they participated,
definitely get it.
Yeah, try it. It's like I said, there's multiple different varieties.
Swine City did a blueberry something with it.
Yeah, each brewery made their own version of it. So if you have to, it's like you have to collect them all. You go and collect them all and you taste them all, and they're all different. It's with the same yeast that they found that was buried because of Prohibition.
I'm looking forward to Missing Link Fest 2021. We'll have to catch them all and go through all the breweries. Lily will be old enough to drive us around town by then, right?
2022?
2022, yeah, that year. Lily will be old enough to drive us around by then, right?
The way she's acting, maybe.
Possibly.
Cheers to the weekend, and Lord help us in the week ahead, because starting tomorrow, we are going to have to do it all over again. Oh, God. Please no. More crazy adventures are ahead, and we will make sure to share them with you each week right here on the Craft Parenting Podcast.
So now, on to our main discussion. As a disclaimer, neither of us claim to be safety experts, but I have years of Girl Scout camp training, so I will pass the knowledge on to you. What to do during a bad thunderstorm. Throw your whole family in the family minivan with a smattering of belongings. What they are doesn't matter. Drive through semi-heavily wooded areas while the wind is raging and rain is coming down in buckets. You can see about 10 feet in front of you. The shorter that distance is, the better. Have phones that are half charged. Who needs a phone in case of an emergency? Not you. And drive slightly faster when you start hearing the tornado sirens. The tornado will definitely be afraid of you if you are driving faster. That's all you need to know. In addition, you can, if you choose, hold on to large metal objects. Drive your car through flooded roadways. Or just go hang out on the roof of your house.
I just got a call from our legal department.
Who's our legal department? Also, that's not what you're supposed to say in the script.
Clara is our legal department as well as producer.
Follow the script.
That doesn't sound quite right, but you're the expert. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Craft Parenting Podcast. The end.
In all seriousness, do as we say, not as we do. So here's a recap of what we did Friday night. Yay. So the AC is out. We can get through this. We're adults, but the children are not going to bed because they're too warm, and the fans in the house are all at high speed, and they're not helping anyone go to bed.
It's like the opposite of what our intro says.
Yeah.
The kids are not in bed.
Correct. There's a storm coming. We know about the storm.
But we'll be fine because we're inside.
Yeah, we'll be fine because we're inside. We debated going to sleep in the basement, but the basement wasn't a whole lot cooler than the rest of the house. Both of our parents had offered to give us places to stay. Your parents' house meant that we would for sure be able to have the dogs with us, and Clara would not appreciate being abandoned in any capacity in the middle of a thunderstorm. So that's where we had to go. You got the kids in their car seats and the dogs in the car. I threw stuff into reusable Kroger bags and threw it all in the back of the van. Grabbed 2 beers for you and 2 Trulies for me because these are things that we need. So we pile everyone into the van, open the garage, seriously question what it is we're about to do. But we can't stay here, so let's go. Get in the van, start driving. It's not too bad.
I mean, it's raining.
It's raining, but like we've been in rain before.
Lightning.
There's lots of lightning. We've been in lightning before. And then about halfway, the wind picks up and we start to vaguely hear the tornado sirens. And I'm like, oh no.
Well, I guess they were the tornado sirens.
We're assuming they were tornado sirens. Our phones never went off, which was weird because usually our phones go off.
The radio didn't cut in either.
Yeah, because we were listening to the radio and there was no kind of cut in.
It was very weird.
So it was just like, well, we'll just start driving faster. And anytime there's like any reason for me to stop, like, nope, just going to keep going. Because at this point, there aren't very many lights between us and your parents' house. Fortunately, all the lights were green, so I didn't have to do that.
There's quite a few power lines, though, that could have fallen on us.
Just don't touch the outside of the van, and you'll be fine. Literally, like, don't touch the outside of the van, and you'll be fine. Car started to drive slower, And I was like, what are you doing? So I went around them and drove faster. Not dangerously fast, but I was like,
It was a 2-lane road at that point, and
it
you
was.
went around them.
And they were slowing down, and I'm like, why? Like the rain's bad, but the rain's not bad enough where you need to start slowing down.
They were in your lane too.
Yeah, and
they were like in both lanes.
And the sky was starting to look questionable. Like, I do not like the look of those clouds. Like, I need to get to a safe place. So we made it to your parents' house without me having to run any red lights. We threw Elliot, Lily, and the dogs into the basement, and then we also got in the basement. We hung out in the basement for like half an hour, and once we got the all clear, then we unpacked all the stuff from the van. Should we have done that? Probably not.
My poor dad, he had to move the van.
Yeah, we're like, hey, can you put the van on the street so we can park in the driveway?
He's like, you made me get out and get all wet.
Get all wet? Or have your grandchildren get more wet? If you would have put it that way, I'd been like, yes, I will do anything for my grandchildren. And so I'm driving as we're getting into your parents' as we're getting onto your parents' street, and you're like, what's up with Karen's tree? Was it always like that? And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about because I'm only looking at the road. And then I finally saw it when we left your parents' house this morning. And I was like, oh, hey, that tree that was standing up is now on the ground. But apparently that happened around lunchtime yesterday.
It wasn't just on the ground. It was in a million pieces. It was like obliterated.
It like twisted when it fell. It was weird.
And come to think of it, I don't remember that she had a tree. Things like this.
I remember that she has a tree because they can't put their inflatables where that tree is.
Oh, now they can.
Come Christmas time.
Now they can.
Once they grind the stump, yes. Once we got the all clear, we all piled into our respective bedrooms and got to sleep in a house that had AC for actual real advice of what you should do, because
this is not advice.
You are responsible for your own safety. We are giving you tips and tricks
that we would do.
You
don't have to do it.
But also, we have
Don't
matured.
Listen to us.
We have matured, so, if our AC would have gone out during the middle of the storm that we had last night 5 years ago when it was just the two of us, maybe we would have gone down to the basement when the sirens went off. We might have just stayed in bed and watched TV. But now we have children to think about. Think of the children. So we do things like get everybody into the basement to make them all safe. So we're not professionals, but we live in the Midwest, so we see lots of just about everything weather-wise. So we know how to handle ourselves in most situations. Phones serve as a main source of communication for inclement weather, especially these days. But if it's not charged, it won't do you any good. So have a weather radio or regular radio available for backup in case your phone dies. Also, there are portable batteries that you can use these days. There are multiple options for how you can charge your phone without actually needing your house to have electricity.
Our friend has a solar power external battery.
Yes, but that only works during the day.
Right.
Yeah, so it wouldn't do you any good in the middle. So
I guess I don't know how it works. I think
it's got a big solar mat.
Yeah.
That attaches to his rechargeable battery.
And does the battery charge?
The battery charges off of that solar mat.
The external battery, like what I'm doing now.
Yes, the external battery charges off of the solar mat.
And then you unplug it, and then you can use it.
Yep.
So
it's not super efficient, but it works.
So you could still use the external battery during the night.
Yes, but you can't charge it during the night.
Gotcha.
So back in the late 2000s.
2009.
Yep, 2009.
We had a hurricane.
No, it was 2008 because I was still in high school.
It was 2008. You're right.
So 2008.
September 2008.
Joe's mom was baking a cake.
For my birthday.
For his birthday.
Because it happened on September 14th, 2008.
Me and my mom were hanging out at our house, completely oblivious that Joe exists. There was a hurricane that came through, but it didn't hit. It was the remnants of a hurricane, and it didn't hit us. It hit very much to the west of Cincinnati. But we got a lot of winds off of that storm, which caused a lot of down power lines because we hadn't gotten a good windstorm or an ice storm in a few years.
Unprecedented.
It was very unprecedented. No one was prepared for it.
I don't know what hurricane it was.
I used to know, and now I forget.
And it was September 14th, 2008, so I guess we could look it up.
So the power was out for about a week. The priority was given to give it back to schools and hospitals. I want to say I was out of school for 4 days because even though the power was back on, because the power went out on Sunday, which was just crazy. It's hey, weather's going to pay attention to the days of the week. I got to go back to work on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, I think power was back at school, but they didn't necessarily have food. So we didn't go back to school until Friday or something like that. Like, I know I went back to work before I went back to school, but grocery stores were a mess. Gas stations were a mess. People were a mess because it was days and days without power. And pro tip, if you have a garage that you can access without opening up the garage door, like it has the door somewhere else on the garage door, you can get out of your garage without a battery when the power goes out. There's a little red pull cord and you pull the cord and it disengages your garage door from the garage motor. So you can then open your garage door, get your car out, close your garage door, and then re-engage that little button. And bam, you got your car out of the garage without a battery. Looking at you, garage door companies that were upselling battery backups for your garage door after that windstorm, because so many people didn't know how to do that.
I will say that it can be dangerous because once you disengage the door from the motor, there's nothing stopping that door.
Correct. So you have to make sure that as you're opening up the door, before you go under the door, you have that door open all the way. Because when the door is open all the way, it's going to stay there. But once it starts going down, it's going down.
But then after you leave the driveway and then you close it and then you leave, anyone can just come and open it.
Either until you re-engage it. So what we would do was we would disengage it, pull our car out, go inside, close and re-engage the garage door, go through the house and leave our house through the front door, then get in our car and leave. Why we kept putting our cars in the garage, I don't know. We should have just left them in the driveway. But that's what we did to get places.
That does not surprise me about you guys.
It doesn't surprise me that much either.
I thought when you first brought that up, I thought you did that just once, but you kept doing it?
I'm pretty sure we did. Gotta keep your car safe. I don't know.
But there are gas lines. I remember that.
Yeah, because if the gas station didn't have power, they couldn't run the pumps to put gas into your car. We just kind of didn't really go anywhere. We did have it was either like a battery-powered radio. I want to say we had to have had a battery-powered radio because we could listen to the radio. And it was when cell phones were still new, so you couldn't do a whole lot with cell phones. And your cell phone battery would last like 3 or 4 days without you having to plug it in if you didn't do much with it.
Yeah, you didn't. I mean, there was no Facebook app.
There weren't all these apps. I think that was even before the days, or it was like very early days of the internet button, where if you accidentally hit it, you were like, back. Don't accidentally charge my parents $20.
So it was like $20 an hour.
It was ridiculous.
To get on the internet.
We survived off of just our pantry because we didn't have an oven. We couldn't use our oven. We didn't have a grill. I bought a grill after that, so we would at least have some way to cook food because we basically just had to pitch everything from our freezer that wasn't ice cream. And it was just like, hey, eat all of this ice cream, drink all of this milk at the same time because the fridge is about to go bad.
So what you're saying is you were unprepared.
We were relatively unprepared. We had plenty of food in the pantry. We made it work. But having food that is ready to eat that does not require any kind of cooking is always good. Knowing the rules for how long temp food is good in your refrigerator without power.
What are these rules? I remember going to your house and late, like when we were about to buy a house.
It was probably like 2013.
We were engaged, whatever.
2014.
And this windstorm took place in like 2009. I remember going to your house.
2008. We already covered this. It was 2008.
Oh my God, 2008, whatever. So that was what, 5 years difference?
It had been a while.
I remember going through your refrigerator and I'm like, this ketchup bottle has an O on it. Caroline, why does this ketchup bottle have an O on the cap?
It wasn't ketchup. It would have either been maples. It would have either been like pancake syrup or soy sauce. Because ketchup we might have thrown away, but maybe we didn't. Basically anything that survived the power outage and we deemed would still be okay, even though it hadn't been refrigerated, we put an O on it. I don't know exactly why we did that, but that's what we did. I do remember too, though, like really wanting brownies at the start of the power outage. So I took a bag of brownie mix and I put in the oil in the water and then I just ate it out of the bowl. Like I didn't put the eggs in it. And I was like, here, I get to eat brownies. And I lived off of that for like 2 days.
Oh my God.
I don't know if I told you that story before. So make sure that you have food that's ready to eat.
This is my surprise face.
And a secondary source of how to cook food. So if your power is out, are you able to use your grill? So when all of this meat in your freezer defrosts, you have a way to cook it so it'll last longer. And then consult the interwebs for how long food is good, like how long your fridge is good for. The rules do change as far as like how many times you have opened your fridge, or if you haven't opened your fridge, how long you can quote unquote go before food starts to go bad. And then as soon as food starts defrosting in your freezer, that's normally if you don't cook it, it's dunzos. Or like if you can't keep it cold, it's dunzos.
Okay, so you did some research on different scenarios.
So I consulted weather.gov and so we joked a little bit earlier about my Girl Scout camp trainings, but every year I worked at Girl Scout camp, which was a lot of years, they made us go through all of our weather safety tips every time. So we go through what to do if there's a thunderstorm, what to do if there's a tornado, what to do if there's a fire, all of this stuff. So it's been drilled into my head for some of this stuff what to do. So for a severe thunderstorm, you want to stay away from creeks and the edges of rivers because flash flooding can be possible. So if you are camping and you're like near a lake or a stream, maybe get the hell out of your campsite. Because if the water starts rushing through, you can become stuck in your tent. Stay away from windows if winds are severe, especially if you're in a heavily wooded area. You don't want any tree branches breaking through a window and possibly hitting you with debris. Know where your candles and matches and or flashlights and batteries are in case the power goes out. Typically, if storms seem like they're getting more severe, we throw a candle and some matches, or if we light the candle and throw it on the counter, or we throw a flashlight on the counter. So if the power does go out, we know where to find one thing so we can potentially find more things. These things also have homes. So we have flashlights that live in 3 different locations, and there's always a flashlight in those 3 different locations. So if we need it, it's there.
The Midwest junk drawer.
Midwest junk drawers are great. Stay under shelter or in your car if there is no other shelter. Tents do not count as shelter because they offer you no kind of protection. Your car is one of the safest places that you can be if you don't have a house or like a more standing structure that you can go to. And just make sure that you do not touch anything metal in your car, because if your car gets struck by lightning, it'll ground out. You just don't want it to go through you for that process. Laying on the ground or standing under trees will not protect you from lightning strikes. Do not do those things. And then drive only when necessary. We're good at that one. So if you're on the highway and the weather gets worse to the point where you don't feel safe driving anymore, pull over to the side of the road. Don't wait until you're under an underpass to park under that underpass, because if you and the 50 cars behind you try to do that on the highway, you are going to end up blocking traffic, and you'll potentially cause an accident if someone else doesn't see you, or if there's an emergency vehicle that needs to get through, it will not be able to get through because everyone is under the underpass blocking traffic.
And this is for severe thunderstorms.
Yes, this is specifically severe thunderstorms. But these rules can apply to multiple things. So there's a difference between a tornado watch and a tornado warning. So a tornado watch means conditions indicate that a tornado may be possible. So in this case, nothing has been seen on radar or on the ground that indicates that there is a tornado, but a tornado could form. So know what your plan is for how you will react if there's a tornado in your area.
Warnings tend to come from watches.
Yes. So watch comes first. And that's just the dogs are inside. I know where the dogs are. I know where the kids are. I know where a flashlight is. Odds of me needing them are very slim at this point, but I know where they are. A tornado warning means that you need to go to the lowest point of your house, preferably the basement. But if you don't have a basement or a storm shelter, then you want to go to your bathroom that has a tub in it, because where your tub is, it's the heaviest thing in your house. That's going to be the strongest point of your house.
And it's connected by piping that goes underground, right?
Yes, and it's connected to piping that goes underground, so you kind of have that stability as well. They say you want to go to your tub and put a mattress on top of you because that'll protect you from any debris. Odds are very low you're going to drag a mattress into your bathroom. Just hang out in your bathtub. It's weird, but that's what you got to do. Tents, mobile homes, sheds, shelters, and similar structures are not tornado safe. Get to a better shelter if you can. If not, get to a ditch. Because if you're in a car and a tornado is approaching, either crouch down in your car, so you're trying to make yourself as small as possible in your car. I'd still keep your seatbelt on. But if possible, get out of the vehicle and go to the ditch next to the roadway and lay in the ditch and hold on to clumps of grass, which sounds crazy, but tornadoes don't like sudden elevation changes like that. So there's a chance that the tornado will just go right over you and you will be fine. Science. It's weird.
I don't know if you'll be fine.
You'll be more fine than if you're just standing outside of your car. And if you're able to, bring your pets to your safe location, but like don't spend 5 minutes trying to drag your dog down to the basement if you're in, like if things sound really bad outside, because that could be the difference between you making it or you not making it.
The biggest threat on a tornado is the debris,
Correct.
I would say.
So you want to make yourself as small as possible if you're stuck outside. So there's less surface area for things to hit.
And debris flies because of high wind. So even if there's a tornado,
like straight line winds can be just as bad as tornadoes. The tornado is going to do more damage. Typically, it's going to do more destruction, but straight line winds can do a lot of damage.
But if there's like a tornado like a mile away and you can see it, you're still in danger.
Yes.
Because
you don't know where that tornado is going to go or how fast it's going to go. Get yourself safe.
Well, it could fly debris at you too, at your house.
Yeah.
And thunder, intense thunder can shatter glass and windows and stuff. So it's not just what you see far away. It's, the wind could pick up and hurt you too.
Even if it's not raining at your house, and if there's thunder and lightning can still strike near you because it can strike up to 3 miles away from the storm. And there's also heat lightning, which is just when it gets too awful hot outside. So that's more air to air, because a lot of what you hear and see during thunderstorms is air to air lightning, but air to ground is when we're going to end up seeing the most damage of things. In regards to flooding, we don't get a lot of flooding where we live, but some people down the river do. If there's a flood, do not go into your attic unless you have a way to get out of your attic. That is not the way that you came into your attic. Because if the water level gets above your ceiling, you will just have trapped yourself in the attic with no way to get out and no way to get help, because no one's going to know that you're in your attic. They have found bodies in attics from people that got trapped during floods.
And this is a happy podcast.
It is a happy podcast. So don't do that. And do not drive over flooded roadways, because you don't know how deep the water truly is, and the road could possibly be washed away.
Water is one of those things that can be...
It can be deceiving.
It can be really gentle, and it's a symbol of healing and all that. Or it can be really destructive. And it can do that. It can go from one to the other really quick.
So Mother Nature always wins. That's my saying at Girl Scout camp whenever we start talking about our safety things. Because think about all of the massive cave systems that we have. That was all formed by our safe, loving water. So because you can't tell how deep the water is and you don't know whether or not the road is there, it can become more dangerous, and you can lose your car in as little as a foot of rushing water. So even if the road is there, your car could still get swept away. And there are some crazy stats of drowning deaths that involve people in their cars that tried to drive through things they ought not drive through. And like if you look at like nature shows where they've got these Jeeps that are driving across rivers and stuff, where they're like halfway up the vehicle with water, those are special vehicles that are adapted for that, because if you look at all those vehicles, they have a big pipe that goes up the front of the vehicle and sticks out at the roof. That's the air intake for the motor. Because even if you think, well, I got a big truck, and they do that in big trucks all the time, if your big truck doesn't have that air intake, that special air intake that is not factory, and typically you have to do it as an add-on somewhere else, your motor is going to flood with water because it's not going to have the ability to get in any air. And basically our engines are controlled fires, and if you don't have air, you can't have a fire. So your engine's just going to die.
Water put fire out.
Yes. No fire mean no drive. And then just do not get close to fast moving streams. The current can be more powerful than you anticipate, and you can get swept downstream. And especially if you're talking about something with a flash flood situation, odds are very high there's going to be some kind of debris in that water, and that could possibly knock you unconscious, or you could get stuck under it. Just stay away from water. Water is not always your friend. And like legitimately, our friend posted pictures. They're on vacation right now on the Alabama coast, and there's a tropical storm that's coming through, and they have double red flags up on the beach, which means do not go out there. There's terrible rip currents. There's a storm coming. Stay off the beach. And there's a bunch of kids playing in the water, and their parents are just chilling there like, hey, yeah, go have fun. It's like, okay, are we going to be the last person that sees your kid get whipped out to sea? Just think before you do things. That's really what the majority of this stuff is. What is your life worth to you? Sure, it would be fun to go in the ocean during a hurricane, but is that how you want your story to end? Think about it. Happy thoughts.
Well, I am going to end this podcast, or end this segment, I guess, with a story, an anecdote. So a fellow was stuck on the roof in a flood. He was praying to God for help. Soon, a man in a rowboat came by, and a fellow shouted to the man on the roof, "Jump in, I can save you." The stranded fellow shouted back, "No, it's okay. I'm praying to God, and he is going to save me." So the rowboat went on. Then a motorboat came by. The fellow in the motorboat shouted, "Jump in, I can save you." To this, the stranded man said, "No thanks. I'm praying to God, and he is going to save me. I have faith." So the motorboat went on. Then a helicopter came by, and the pilot shouted down, "Grab this rope. I will lift you to safety." To this, the stranded man replied once again, "No thanks. I'm praying to God, and he is going to save me. I have faith." So the helicopter reluctantly flew away. Soon the water rose above the rooftop, and the man drowned. He went to heaven. He finally got his chance to discuss this whole situation with God, at which point he exclaimed, "I had faith in you, but you didn't save me. You let me drown. I don't understand why." To this, God replied, "I sent you a rowboat and a motorboat and a helicopter. What more did you expect?"
Maybe a mariachi band with some cake?
So basically, the moral of the story is, no one can help you unless you help yourself. You aren't a prepper if you have a reasonable amount of emergency food and water in your house. You aren't a prepper, quote, quote, if you have a first aid kit, just in case. You, no one else, are in charge of you, especially if you have a family with small kids and dogs, as we do. Sometimes things go sideways, as is the title of this episode. Sometimes it rains and the power goes out. Be responsible for you. In the story, you can easily replace God with the government. I know some people may not be religious, but it's just a story. But you can easily replace God with the government or FEMA or the National Guard. If your attitude is, "I don't need emergency water," FEMA, the government, the National Guard will protect me and will take care of me during an emergency. Yes, maybe they will come help you out eventually, but how long will that take? A week? 2 weeks? How long can you last without food or water? How long can a small child last? Obviously, what I'm talking about, these situations, they are extreme, but it's still important to think about. It's important to plan ahead. It's important to be responsible. You may never need that water. You may use it, but it's always good to have something in case something goes by. I'll give another anecdote. When I heard about the going-ons in Wuhan in early February 2020, there were reports of people collapsing. The government was spraying the streets with sanitizer. That was crazy, the pictures that we saw. Every time I went to the grocery store, I purchased, gasp, not toilet paper, not paper towels, but what did I buy?
You bought tons of water and protein bars.
A ton of water. I mean, every time I bought 1 case of water each trip. So I bought water, bottled water, protein bars, and diapers, because in my mind, if there were supply chain shortages, the things we would need to survive at the most basic level, are food and water. Diapers for Lily would be nice, but I guess we could
find workarounds for that.
We could use, if we absolutely needed to, I suppose we could use like old t-shirts and stuff.
Yeah, we got plenty of clothes lying around.
The toilet paper and paper towel thing started, in my opinion. I don't have any hard evidence of this, but in my opinion, it started because a newspaper outlet took a picture of an empty shelf that just happened to be toilet paper. It just happened to be paper towels. It's exactly what happens in the Midwest when the weatherman says it's going to snow tomorrow. And what do people do when the weatherman says it's going to snow?
Milk, bread, and eggs. Everyone
rushes to the store to buy the exact same thing. I don't know why. I mean, I guess those are things that you need, but yeah, it's amazing. Again, in my opinion, at least, they took this picture of an empty shelf. It happened to be of toilet paper or paper towels, and the shelf was in fact empty. That is factual. But for all we know, there could have been pallets of the stuff in the back of the store.
Well, and the other thing is, too, that what are your bigger items at a grocery store? It's your pack of toilet paper and your pack of paper towels.
They take up more space.
They take up more space. They take up more space in your cart. They take up more space on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't necessarily fit a ton of them on the aisle. But the aisle takes up, like if you think about the pasta section of your store, it's like 10 feet long, one side of the aisleway. You think about your toilet paper and paper towel section, it's like 30 feet long, both sides of the aisle. So as soon as that starts to look empty, it really looks empty. And so somebody says, hey, you've got toilet paper in your cart. I should probably grab some toilet paper too, because either I don't think that I have enough at home or I actually don't have enough at home, which just turned into everybody threw toilet paper and paper towels into their cart. And then some people are like, oh my goodness, people are throwing toilet paper and paper towels into their cart. Grab all of the toilet paper and paper towels. It's like, what are you going to eat? I can get grass and leaves outside if I really have to. Do I really want to have to? No. But I know that I have alternatives for that. I can't eat grass and leaves and survive.
You can't eat toilet paper and survive. But these news outlets, they make it look like there's a problem. They don't. And then people panic when they see the headline. So they click on the article. And then that generates ad revenue when they click that article. And that's how news sites work. But to your point, it's also important to not be a hoarder. Do not panic buy. So what I was describing, I wouldn't describe as panic buying. Never once panic bought. I always bought what I needed at the present, plus maybe 10% extra. Stuff that I know I would use, but maybe down the line.
Yeah, so typically when I would go to the grocery store, I would grab the stuff that we usually buy, and then I'd throw in an extra thing of pasta and an extra thing of pasta sauce. So I was like, we can eat those kind of whenever. They shelf well. And it's not like we're still sitting, like a year later, it's not like we're still sitting on tons of pasta and tomato sauce. No, we ate all of them. I have to go buy more the next time we go to the store because we're running out of food.
So maybe instead of getting a week's worth of food,
I would buy like a week and a half.
Yeah, so I wouldn't consider that panic buying.
No.
And we're not preppers. We don't have an entire bunker in our backyard full of stuff that we're going to, use in case of the apocalypse.
That we're going to have to worry about in 5 years. Everything expires and, I got to eat all this before it expires to then replace my bunker.
Well, to the preppers' credit, I think they use what does the National Guard have? Like the
MREs, meals ready to eat.
Yeah, and they have these, there's a whole market of this stuff.
There is. It's ridiculous, and I am glad that we are not a part of it. But
I'm not necessarily saying to get that, but if you want to, you can. Sure, whatever.
Just don't buy pallets of it.
Yeah,
you
don't need pallets of stuff.
And then what you do is, okay, I bought 10 MREs in case of emergency. Well, I'm going to go on this camping trip next weekend, so I'll buy 10 MREs to throw in my storage space to take these 10 MREs out and use them. And don't just have them sit down there for 10 years. Actually rotate out your stock or eat them because, maybe I don't actually need all of this stuff down here. Maybe I only need half of it. But yeah, life definitely does change when you have to think about children in addition to yourself, because we get grumpy when our bellies are empty, and by we, I mostly mean me. But we know that we get a little bit snippy with each other. We know why we're getting snippy with each other. Children don't necessarily have the ability to do something like that. If they're hungry, they need to eat because their body's telling them they need to eat because they need to grow. Let your kids be kids. Make sure that you have stuff available if the power goes out.
Plus, in 2020, you were nursing. You're nursing now, too.
I was very hungry all the time. I am very hungry all the time right now, too.
Nursing mothers need more calories. They say you eat the same amount of calories that you do. The same amount of calories are recommended to nursing mothers as to pregnant. No, it's more.
It's more.
It's more.
So it's so your first trimester, you eat about the same amount you normally do. Your second trimester, they say add an extra 100 calories a day. Your third trimester, they say add an extra 200 to 300 calories a day to what you would normally eat pre-pregnancy. For nursing, they say add an extra 300 to 500 calories a day. It might even be as high as 600 calories a day. Because now not only are you you're not really making a person, you are making that person's meals.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to have enough food in you so you can make food for them.
And what do they also say? They say you have to drink water.
Yes, lots and lots of water.
And if you don't have water from your sink and there's an emergency,
what you gonna do?
Not only is the nursing mother out of food, but the baby's out of food because you don't have formula.
Well, and even if you do have formula, you still need water to make the formula.
Yeah, clean water.
Yes.
Well, actually, they sell at the store. What do they sell?
It's typically distilled water.
They sell special water. Yeah.
But if it's a pinch, you can probably use bottled water and be okay.
But if you're nursing, I don't have formula because you're most in our case, because
formula has a shelf life, and if we're not going to use it, why even bother buying it?
Yeah. So, by the way, in the hypothetical example that I said with the empty shelves and the news taking pictures of the shelf, they aren't technically wrong. The shelf was in fact empty. You can see that with your own eyes. They just don't like to tell you the whole story because their objective objective is to sell papers or to generate clicks. So it's misleading at best. Just something to think about as we go from spring to summer.
It's definitely tornado season and hurricane season. We get all of the things here. We don't get like actual hurricanes. We get the leftovers from hurricanes.
Right. And those storms still act weird.
Yes, they do. So you never quite know exactly what they're going to do.
So now it is time for your favorite segment, my favorite segment, Joe's Dad Joke of the Week.
Yay.
So keeping in line with this week's theme, did you see the movie about that tornado?
No, what about it?
It's got a great twist.
People can't hear the face palm.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm assuming this is where you edit in the applause.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. You're like Big Bird, where that's the only thing that he can do with ballet, is the bowing at the end.
Well, that does it for this week's show. Thanks so much for listening. We want to hear from you. If you have ideas for a show topic, if you have comments about a previous show, maybe you really liked it, or you learned something new, or perhaps you did not like it.
Constructive criticism only, please.
There are many ways to get in touch with us and let us know. Send us an email at craftparentingpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Craft Parenting Podcast to get updates on what new episodes have dropped, see pictures of our adorable kids, and more.
If you like what you hear, please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. Make sure to share the show with your friends, family, your neighbor down the street. It really helps our show grow. You can also send us stuff to our awesome P.O. Box.
And all this information is available on our beautiful website, www.craftparentingpodcast.com. So go check it out.
That's where we're going to have show notes, like the links to weather.gov, so you can see more of their preparedness stuff for other scenarios that we didn't talk about. Our link to the Cincy Brewcast episode where they talk about this missing link beer. Again, it is not safe for children or, I guess, work. And there's going to be, we'll have blog posts on the website and some of the stuff that doesn't make it into the podcast.
If you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to the show. We are listed on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and just about every podcast app out there. And with that, I'm Joe.
And I'm Caroline.
See you next time on the Craft Parenting Podcast.
You know what's weird? I have had one of my headphones off of my ear the whole episode to hear the theoretical child monitor that's not here because the kids aren't even here. And my ear hurts because it was half on my ear and I could have just had it fully on my ear the whole time.
Is that what you were doing?
I think so. I don't, because this is what I do for the kids. I could have just done this. There are no children here. There are no dogs here.
It's really weird.
It's super weird.
Don't break into our house.
Please don't. Bye. Happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy, 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 happy anniversary, happy, 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 happy anniversary, happy anniversary. We get to spend it at our parents' house because our AC doesn't work. Yay!